Family Planning Program. Again, it was named as the Family Welfare Program. The infant mortality is reduced to 30 per 100 infants as of now. Physically fit person without any diseases, drinking chemically treated and clean filtered water to directly or indirectly support all the human activities. Damage and loss of land, house and property. Hello my dear students, welcome back to session 2 on the chapter Human Population and the Environment. Today we'll be learning about the Family Welfare Program. In India, the Family Planning Program was launched in 1952 and India was the first one to do so as well. In 1977, this program was called as the National Family Planning Program, and then again it was named or renamed as the Family Welfare Program. The Family Welfare Program is concerned about the growth of human health, the family, as well as the welfare of children and also about women rights. So what are the main objectives of Family Welfare Program? To slow down the population explosion by reducing fertility and also to reduce the pressure on the environment due to over-exploitation of natural resources, which is directly linked to the population explosion. Next, we'll be learning about the Family Planning Program, which comes under Family Welfare Program. So, what is Family Planning Program? In Family Planning Program, they provide the educational and clinical service that help a couple to choose how many children to have and also when to have them. Family Planning Program provides information on birth spacing from one birth to another and also health care for pregnant women and infants are also provided here. Not only that, it also reduces the number of legal and illegal abortions per year and decrease the risk of death from pregnancies. So this is the success that Family Planning Program has seen. The main objectives of the Family Planning Program are these. First, reduce infant mortality. Compared to before, the infant mortality is reduced to 30 per 100 infants as of now. Okay. Next, to achieve 100% registration of births, death, marriage as well as the pregnancies. Then, to encourage late marriage and late children bearing. It also encourages breastfeeding and enables to provide women health education and employment. Also constrains the spread of AIDS or HIV or any other communicable diseases should be prevented by the Family Planning Program. So these are the main objectives, and up to a certain extent, Family Planning Program is successful as well. Next is about the environment and human health. What is the meaning of healthy person? Physically fit person without any diseases is called as a healthy person. Then what is the meaning of disease? Harmful changes in the body because of chemicals or biological condition, or it can be due to nutritional condition, or it can also be psychological factor. Then we call it as a disease. So what is a disease? Disease means any harmful effect which is going on in the body due to chemical, biological, nutritional, all psychological factor. Then we call it as a disease. Important hazards and their health effects which we can see is, one is chemical hazards and their health effect, Another one is biological hazards and their health effect. And both of these we have studied in environmental pollution chapter. So for example, if I have to tell chemical hazard and its effects, we have seen how chemicals are very bad for our health. For example, pesticides and insecticides which they are spraying during agriculture, or it can be any chemicals which is just left out into the environment, which is causing air pollution like sulfur dioxide or nitric oxide or nitrogen dioxide, how the ozone is getting depleted, what are their effects. All of this we have studied in pollution chapter. It's the same thing. And biological hazards as well, how there is hazards due to the biological conditions which is there, even that we have studied under environmental pollution. So these are the important hazards and their effects which we have to take care about. Next, going forward, the preventive measures to take for a person to be healthy. How can we maintain hygiene and keep ourselves healthy or disease free? Some small steps what we can take are: always wash your hand before eating, cut short and clean nail symmetrically, also drinking chemically treated and clean filtered water. Also, we have to take care that we can eat food which is hot, freshly prepared, and avoid junk food. Also, wash the vegetables and fruits with clean water before cooking. Also, we have to avoid plastic containers and aluminum vessels so that we are healthy and disease free. So, these are the few preventive measures which we can take so that we can remain healthy. Next is about the carbon footprinting. What exactly is carbon footprinting? Let's see the definition. The total amount of greenhouse gases produced to directly and indirectly support human activities, usually expressed in equivalent tons of carbon dioxide, is called as carbon footprinting. In common words, if I have to tell, how much amount of carbon dioxide is getting emitted to directly or indirectly support all the human activities put together. We call it as carbon footprinting. Now, carbon dioxide may be released when we are moving around in our own car or vehicles because fuel is getting burnt. When we are using the food or we are buying even groceries or any food products which we are buying, to produce that food product, there will be some amount of carbon dioxide which would be emitted. Also, it may be some personal things which we are doing or emission of any gas, or even when we are recycling, okay, any of the material, there might be some carbon dioxide which is emitted. Even when we are putting out some waste, okay, and that undergoes decomposition or it is undergoing recycling or it is being burnt, okay, then also there is some carbon dioxide which is released, okay. Transport, as I told, electricity, when we are using electricity, there is some amount of carbon dioxide which is again released. So every type of carbon dioxide when we put together which is emitted due to our activities, then we call it as carbon footprinting. In other words, just a small example, when you drive a car, the engine burns fuel which creates certain amount of carbon dioxide depending on its fuel consumption and the driving distance. How much distance you are traveling, how much fuel is getting consumed, and equivalent amount of, there is carbon dioxide gas which is liberated. Then when you are heating your house with oil, gas or coal, when you also generates carbon dioxide. If you are using electricity at home, even that will, produce some amount of carbon dioxide. When you buy food and goods, and the production of food and goods also emits some quantity of carbon dioxide. Your carbon footprinting, okay, is the sum of all the emissions of carbon dioxide which was induced by your activity in a given time frame. Usually, carbon footprint is calculated for the time period of 1 year. Okay, we calculate carbon footprinting for 1 year usually. Okay, so if I put all the carbon dioxide which is emitted due to my activities in 1 year, then that is called as carbon footprinting. Okay, the best way to calculate the carbon dioxide emission based on fuel consumption. In the next step, you can add the carbon dioxide emission to your carbon footprint as well. Here you can see, for each UK gallon of petrol, in UK for every gallon of petrol fuel consumed, 10.4 kg carbon dioxide is emitted. For every gallon, how much is emitted? 10.4 kg in UK. For each US gallon of gasoline fuel consumed, 8.7 kg of carbon dioxide is emitted. Okay. Now, if your car consumes 7.5 liter diesel per 100 kilometer, then a drive of 300 kilometer distance consumes, how much I have to calculate? What is it? For every 100 kilometer, I need 7.5 liters. For 100 kilometers, I require 7.5 liters of diesel. Okay, and I am driving a distance of 300 kilometers. Okay, then 3 into 7.5. Okay, that is, I require 22.5 liters. Correct? No, this is how much? This is 22.5 liters of diesel I require. And for every liter of diesel, every gallon or every liter of diesel, how much is it? 2.7 kg of carbon dioxide is liberated. How much of diesel I am using? 22.5 liters of diesel I am using. So 22.5 into 2.7 kg, I am liberating 60.75 kg of carbon dioxide for traveling 300 kilometers for my personal use. This is how we calculate the carbon footprinting. So I hope you have understood. Okay, so like this, every year if I calculate how much of fuel I have used, how much of carbon dioxide I have emitted, then that goes to the account of my carbon footprinting. Okay, so this is something which we can think about, that how much am I responsible for the greenhouse effect which is happening now, right now in the world, which is causing global warming and leading to all the climatic changes which is happening around us. Okay, so next we have is the disaster management. Disaster management, the word itself tells, when there is a disaster, how are we supposed to manage and what types of disasters can take place? The disasters can be flood, landslide, it can be earthquakes, it can be cyclone, etc., which is naturally happening. But of course, naturally happening, but somewhere we humans are the cause for all of these disasters to happen as well. Okay, so first one is the floods. What is the meaning of flood? When water is there in an area where it is not supposed to be, or it is creating problem for humans because of excess of water, then we call it as floods. What is it? Increased rainfall or rapid snow melting causes more flow of water in the streams. And this excess water flow in the stream covering the adjacent land is called as the flood. Okay. Floodplain is defined in terms of flood frequency. What is floodplain? Okay, that is explained in terms of flood frequency. The flood frequency can be explained as 10-year flood, 100-year flood, etc. Now, what is the meaning of 10-year flood? 10-year flood means that particular stream can flood the neighboring lands once in 10 years. So that's the estimation which they do, and then that, it's called as flood frequency is called as 10-year flood. 100-year flood means once in 100 years the flood can happen there in that stream or river, and we call it as the 100-year flood. Okay. So the flood plains are generally fertile, flat and easily formed land. Okay. So floodplains are those plains which is there just adjacent to the stream or rivers, and where the flood can happen, we call it as the flood plain. And these floodplains are usually the fertile, flat and easily formed area. Next is, what are the causes of flood? First cause is construction of building in the flood plain. We know it's a flood plain, but still we end up constructing some of the buildings there. It may be houses, it may be complexes, anything. Okay. Removing vegetation in the flood plain, paving roads and parking areas, deforestation, heavy rainfall, urbanization and earthquakes can cause flood. Okay. Next is, what are the effects of flood? First effect is erosion of the topmost fertile soil. That is the first effect of flood which we can see. Damage and loss of land, house and property. Spread of endemic waterborne diseases, because there is a lot of water everywhere. The waterborne diseases can just spread very vigorously when there is a flood. Also, interruption of basic facilities of communities such as highways, railways, telephone, electricity, day-to-day essentials also can become a problem when in a flooded area. Okay. Silting of reservoirs and dams. That is, if there is a dam and the reservoir, there is a lot of silt which gets accumulated below, and when silt is accumulated below, that area where the water can be filled, now you have the silt, and that again can be the cause for the flood for the coming years. Okay. So silting also will take place. That is the effect of flood which we can see. So, what are the measures that which we can take to prevent flood? Can we do something about it? That is, construction of flood control dams has to be happen, so that the flood can be controlled up to a certain excess. We know that in a particular area, every year it is flooding. So, there should be some dams which has to be constructed so that the flooding can be reduced. Okay. Deepening, widening and straightening of stream, lining of the stream, banning of construction of building in the floodplains, and also converting floodplain into wildlife habitat, parks and recreational areas, so that the damage for the human life can be reduced. So these are some of the control measures which we can take to reduce flood. The next disaster which we can see here is the landslide, isn't it? What are landslides? Landslides occur when mass of earth material move downwards. Okay. It is also called mass wasting or mass movement. Suddenly a mass of land suddenly moves down. Okay, moves from its original place. We call it as its landslide. Okay. Sudden landslide occur when unconsolidated sediments of the hillside are saturated by rainfall or waterlogging is there. So the hillside, there is a lot of waterlogging which is there, that is the retention of water, and there is heavy rainfall due to which they have absorbed all water. The land or the hill, the soil has become a little loose and suddenly it will slide off. Okay. So that is when there is heavy rainfalls and landslides can happen. Many landslides take place in coincidence with the earthquakes. Okay. The most common form of landslide is earthquake induced landslide, or more specifically rock falls and slides of rock fragments that form the steep slopes. So whenever there is an earthquake, the land has shook a little and the soil has become, or the land has become a little loose, and because of that there can be landslides. So usually the landslides are earthquake induced. Okay. The size of area affected by the earthquake induced landslide depends on the magnitude of the earthquake, focal depth, topography and geological condition near the causative fault. The amplitude, frequency, composition and the duration of ground shaking. Everything will matter how much of the landslide can happen. Okay, so more about earthquakes I'll be talking to you all in the next class. So all these terminologies again you will understand when I'm doing about the earthquake. Next is, what is that we can do to control landslides? First, avoid construction activity in landslide occurring areas. In the slopy region, the hillside, we have to avoid constructing buildings, reduce slope of the hilly side, stabilizing the slope portion, okay, and also increasing plantation of deep-rooted vegetation on the slope. Now, when deep-rooted vegetation is done, the roots of these plants tend to hold the land very tightly and it can prevent landslides. And this is the best method which we can prevent landslide. We have to avoid deforestation. We have to take care, you don't cut any of the trees which is there on these hilly slopes, etc. And we can prevent landslides. I hope you have understood today's class. Thank you, my dear children. Stay tuned for more updates.